This is the Conspiracy Commission Podcast.
We are back for another episode of the Conspiracy Commission.
Let's go.
Today's topic, Tartaria, mud floods, giants, ancient power plants,
Interesting.
a vast empire that has been wiped out of history,
Because I don't want you to know.
potentially.
We're talking about the Tartarians.
This one was very interesting for me, ladies and gentlemen. I found this one to be very, very interesting. There's some things that, can shed some light on some things, and then folks, and then let me just tell you, and then there's just a whole lot of questions with not a lot of answers. This is a very interesting one. There's a lot of certain segregated incidents and areas where I guess you could see there has been an explanation for this, but then there's certain times in history throughout that were it's just not very clear. But this is very interesting one to start off with. Today I realized that the question is not whether we are in the mind-made prison. The real question is, to what degree are we the prisoners of our minds? We are all living in an illusion and mistaking it for reality. A butcher, the mind-made prison. This is a very interesting one. This Tartarian subject, I say we just jump right into it. Press play. Let's get naked.
I'm going to get rid of this.
Interesting art. This guy's got it here.
Oh, the film clicking in the background really adds to the aesthetic.
We think we know is a lie.
Yeah.
Sam Tripoli,
Let's go.
History, who we are,
tinfoil hat,
come
shout out.
from, our religions, our food,
Another podcast.
our medicine, what this world is, quite literally everything is a lie.
Pause it.
There's a law.
That's very interesting. That this is how you're gonna lead off the Tartarian Mud Flood, right?
It goes back to the
Because
saying,
this is-
did the winners write history?
All right, so this is the start of how you believe that they were going to rewrite things and start us off, because this would be a direct correlation to the past in which all of this stuff would give us answers to, right? That would then dictate what they claim and deem history to be to begin with. That's what makes this Tartarian Mud Flood so important, right? I'd argue.
Well, I mean, yeah. If you watched our last episode, or not our last episode, our
Blue Beam Project?
not Blue Beam, our Columbian Exposition episode.
Yes. Not the last, but yes,
Yeah.
Columbian Expedition. Yes.
We talked about like the potential of these, like that being a cover up of those buildings being there beforehand, not being built in 5 years, and that they threw this huge event here so that they could end up demolishing some of them in the cover up.
This is like the why, right? Like, why do we not hear about this? It's because the winners, right, of history don't want us to know.
Right.
And it's basically been said already. So this is what happened.
If they're trying to overtake a previous empire that was set up, eliminate its whole fucking existence from history, and set up a new control structure, maybe we're seeing the remnants of what they tried to hide, right? And whether they did it through some type of technology, were they able to do these mud floods, or it was a natural disaster and they just took advantage? I don't know.
Right.
Lines up in the same kind of time period we were talking about. Like, as soon as you hit the 1700s, we get all these fucking wars. We get certain types of people in power. A new world orders starting to being formed.
Big shout out, Tuber TV. This guy really had the treasure trove on this subject, and a lot of these clips are from that. This guy's an incredible guy, putting some excellent slides together.
You want to finish that other video?
To show us. It's all the same video.
It's all the same video.
Yeah,
He's just got it
I just
different
got it
times.
Oh, I didn't even
different
notice that.
timestamp.
Okay,
yeah,
great.
so it's the same video. It's over an hour long, and I just timestamped it. So we're gonna get into some things that have, I guess.
He goes flat Earth on this too.
I guess that there's some questions that, some answers that can be given about the next thing. So we're gonna get into giants now, I think, and some of the things that were going on with that. So we have gigantic books here that were written, and I'm sure that there's an actual reason for it. I don't know the actual reason for it. But where you going?
I fucked up. I hit a button and it moved it. I don't remember where that was at.
Yes, we got a little bit of giants sprinkled in here. Some of the ideas are that maybe some of the inhabitants of this Tartarian Empire could have possibly been giants. That could describe some of the large architecture that we see in some old buildings. We have these pictures of huge guns. We got these pictures of huge books. This book is as tall as this guy right here.
He's on his knees, but still, it's about a 4-foot tall book. I mean, that's amazing. And it's not just one, so you couldn't say that this was a one-off. I mean, it literally looks like the books go all the way to the back and all the way to the other side of these giants' books. Let's just run it. Massive books. Again, though, I don't know what these books are for, why they were built this big. This is amazing. Look at this. Look how big this is.
It's a map of Europe.
Look at this. They have stands for them.
Oh,
Pages that you can go and read yourself. It's very interesting to think that something like this was done for what? Maybe as, some sort of...
My only argument is like, if they made the pages smaller, imagine how big the book would be then.
Well, no, because look at the information, dude. There's
actual information. It's actual books that.
Well, it's actual information, sure, but hang on. Go back 5 seconds. Go back. Look how big the font is.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah, so it's like
smaller handwriting.
Yeah.
I mean this is
that's
amazing.
That's a font size for a giant. It's not a font size.
Yeah,
for a
that's amazing. Look, this takes up the entirety of the
funny.
room with the book open.
That's fucking crazy.
The entirety of the room. I mean, this is amazing, people. Why have we never talked about this? What this is in Hebrew or in
Arabic or whatever.
Aramaic?
Yeah, they're
Look,
really
that's
big
amazing.
handwriting.
They pulled this straight out of the vaults of the Vatican.
This is amazing, no? Is this not amazing?
The Vatican has all the giant books in their fucking vault.
Are these books not anything short of amazing? Look at the size of some of these books.
These giant books
It's
are
very
not
clear
made
that
for
these
us,
book-
the
these
normal
giant-
small people of 2021.
Yeah.
Okay, good point.
Seems like it. Could believe
Pause
that.
it. How do you feel about this? Is it very clear? Is that very clear? How do we feel about this guy saying it is very clear that these giant books are not made for us, the normal and small people of 2021?
Very
right?
clear possibility.
Right. We can't say for certain.
Definitely
certain, right?
not for certain, right? Because again, these books could have been made, right?
Right.
As like I got that sword in the corner. That's not a real sword. That sword is a decorative piece.
Right.
This could have been
200 years from now, they find our Hot Wheels and they're like, the world was made up of fucking midget mini people, bro.
Wow.
So I don't know.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Wow. Yeah, if you found our Hot Wheels and our Legos, what would that represent?
Yeah.
Do you think that they would attribute that to children?
What would that say about us?
What would that say about us? But it's an interesting question to ask when we're doing all of this stuff. We have no idea what these books are for. It's interesting. What is our next slide?
Next timestamp here. We
Yeah,
got
that's the next one.
There we go.
Okay, so we got into giant books, right? And now we're saying to ourselves, what's the reason for giant books? Well, I'll tell you, for giant hands. We have Robert, who is 7 feet tall at 13 years old, or 15 years old.
7
Run
foot
it.
10 inches. He's almost 8.
Run it.
Shit.
He weighs 360 pounds. He's 15 years old.
In 1939, at the age of 21, he was more than 8 feet 8 inches tall and weighed 491 pounds. Quiet, shy, sensitive to his size, Robert Wadlow was hesitant about appearing in public. This film was made to promote the company that manufactured his shoes, size 37 AA. For him, a visit to New York was as much an ordeal as an outing. Yet cameramen lost no opportunity to.
Now, giants wouldn't build themselves small doors, would they? They wouldn't want to have to be crouching like that, walking through doors.
Atop the Empire State Building, the tallest building in the world, stood Robert Wadlow. To this day, the tallest man in modern history. Believe it or not.
That's huge, dude. Look. Watch this. Now watch this. It wasn't a one-off, just one person. Now watch this. This is interesting. This is where it gets pretty interesting.
These next photos are telling us that in the near past was happened a mud flood, or many, all over the world. Wonder why.
Check these next ones out, bro. Here's your building just sticking up out of the ground.
We got the roof of the building at floor level. So this is another thing that the Tartarian conspiracy loves to cover, right? We got all these northern cities that have floors of architecture underneath ground level.
Which is interesting.
Was it because
there's
the cities were
door.
raised?
Look at the door.
Cities and towns were partially buried, constituted the worldwide advanced civilization called Tartaria, which had free wireless energy and was populated, at least in part, by giants. That's what I was trying to get at earlier. Maybe it was just part giants, some giants. Not everyone had to be a giant.
Yeah, because I was gonna talk about the architect in New Jersey that the basements were not gigantic. They were actually primarily built for short people, because you have to understand the people who were building those buildings, they came from Italy, they came from Ireland. They weren't very big people.
You saying they're short?
They were short, yeah. I mean, primarily Italians are pretty short, I would argue. You know what I mean? Like, I mean, one of the most historical, strong lifting men of Italy. He was like real short. He was a really short guy, but he was super strong and he won. But he was really short. You see a lot of soccer players. They're real short. Not too many guys are tall that are from over there. So they came over here and they built the East Coast of the United States. And a lot of them guys are short. That's why a lot of these basements throughout the East Coast are really short, but still having that European architect,
This is definitely one of my favorite parts of the conspiracy. It was a civilization reset, out with the old, in with the new, and that new civilization is what we have right now. It's us. I think the time frames of all these cities being raised up 15 feet and like this like huge Wild West like expansion, and then we have all these the world fairs where we have all these crazy architecture things that end up getting destroyed.
Which again
afterwards.
is interesting, because that can be another narrative that they told us it was a exposition, and they told us that it was a fair that you just bring your family to as a learning experience. But then yet it really could have been for them to reshape how they want everything to look.
Right.
Like, as, from city to city, state to state, you're going around.
Create the illusion in your head. We're going to show it to you and tell you that we're not even going to tell you anything about Tartaria. We're just going to tell you that this is an exposition.
Because remember, if you walked into that Tartarian building in Chicago at the Columbian Exposition and then seen everything around it that was built similar, you wouldn't at all think that building was built at a different time if you weren't from there. So everything would be as is, as presented when you get there, and you'd never ever suspect anything else, right? I mean, because if that was the overall master plan, and that's why there's similarities between the World's Fair and all of these places throughout the world and Tartaria.
Why it looks like fucking Roman architecture.
I'm gonna go deep with this one real quick.
And a lot of them burnt down too, because the Chicago Exposition burnt down.
Go below sea level.
A lot of those buildings burnt down.
So what was like the main thing of the expedition, right?
The main thing? It was a lot of main things. Like, it had electricity.
That was the main thing. The battle between, right? What is it, like
AC and DC.
AC and DC?
Between Tesla and who's the other guy?
So imagine they hired those two guys. Those two guys were part of a group. Then they were like, look, we don't know how these Tartarian people had energy. But we need you to reverse engineer this.
What if that's the cover up for the free energy, though, dude? To cover up the free energy, they make a fake fight about AC and DC.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Whoa.
So then that is like, all right, now you got to pay for this. Because we came up with this.
I think that's why, what's his face?
That's why it was so important. Edison
the banker guy, Morgan guy, wanted Edison because he had all the copper wires and shit, which he already had like the monopoly on copper. It's not wireless.
Well, it's completely because Tesla told him he wanted to make it free for everyone. He wanted to give it to the people. So immediately he got his funding stripped. Remember up in Colorado when we were talking about I don't know if we talked about Tesla. I think we did we may have done a show on Tesla, if not Tesla, then energy, and Tesla ended up being in it. That JP
he came up a little bit in like the
that he ended up. What ended up happening was he was in Colorado, and it's a landmark right now. You can go up there and see it.
That tower.
Yeah, it's where he didn't finish building it because Morgan took his money, and then they went a different direction, and they pulled it. So he never got off the ground because, again, it's probably because he wanted to make everything free.
That's not allowed in the new civilization.
What is our next couple tabs? Because I know we bled into a few extra tabs.
All right, yeah, let's talk about these buildings.
Yeah,
here.
some more low-level building stuff here.
So was it a mud flood that covered these?
We'll go to the next one. What's the next tab?
They were built below, and then they had to raise. Look, this isn't 14 feet right here, man.
Hit this.
That's not 14 feet raised.
That's in the ground.
And just pause. This is fucking post-apocalyptic pictures, dude. This is not organized city. We're doing a fundraiser to fucking get 1,000 people over here with jacks to raise it up a fucking mountain cliff, dude. Like,
so do you think that
what is going on in these pictures, bro? This is the craziest, dude. I mean, when you see these pictures, bro, right? Like, come on, dude.
Pole shift.
No, I told you guys before this whole show started that you were gonna see some things in these photos. I mean, look at that house way up above that's getting cut off on the top of the crest there. Way up by the search bar there. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's 5-6 stories of just mud covering structures.
You're saying that this goes all the way down?
Look at that. That's 1870.
I mean, right? Because like down here, there's fucking structures, right?
Removing a burnt out building on rock level.
Walnut Street, 1870, dude, and it's all around this time frame.
In the 1800s.
9 years later, we have the Columbian Exposition, and all the other world.
Which again is obviously like, why is all this stuff in the 1800s happening like that? It's just that's when all of this stuff started happening throughout. That's the Columbian Exposition. That's when
the fires were the cover.
I don't know. I mean,
you could.
No, this is a mud flood, right?
Yeah, I mean, this is mud.
Yeah, but they're not saying that. They're saying this was a burnt out building, right? So it was burned up. It was on fire.
And this is just
mud.
This is just on a cliff.
Underground.
See, that's the hard part with these pictures, right? They can just put whatever the fuck he wants under this picture, and we're like, oh yeah, see,
let it run. Let's see what else we got. Let it run. I don't know what that's.
I'm loving this music though.
I don't know what this is. I don't know what this is either.
These are the pictures.
Tartars were the generic name used by Europeans up until the middle of the 19th century for people who inhabited the largely unexplored regions of Asia, including what we now know as Manchuria, Siberia, and Central Asia.
All right, now go up to the top and follow that tab. Go up to.
Is that true though? They had no idea about Asia.
So let it ride. That's where we're at.
I mean, maybe like that was their clique, and they just haven't gone that far.
Because Marco Polo goes over to Asia.
See now,
right? They have like the Silk Road and all this shit, right? Like,
yeah, I mean,
trade routes.
When did
Christopher Columbus?
Yeah.
Well, he went to
sail the ocean blue.
16.
He went to North America though, not to Asia.
16.
But I'm saying if they explored over the ocean, they definitely just walked to the land the other direction.
Right?
Yeah.
Right?
Something's not adding up here.
Huh? What do you mean? What do you mean?
Because this is saying the 19th century unexplored regions of Asia. Right, so unexplored to the right of Europe.
So most Europeans just had no idea what was over there. They didn't fucking walk 1,000 miles to the right.
So instead of just hiking and exploring that way, they built ships and went the other way in the 16.
And they just had no idea of what was really going on, so they just used the blanket term Tartars.
Interesting.
Right, 17th century. That's what we're saying.
Well,
and then 200 years later, they still haven't went right.
Oh no, it's an incredible question. Let's get
because 19th century would be the 1800s. Yeah, we're saying the 1600s, so 17th century is when they sailed, right?
Mm-hmm. Sailed the ocean blue. was ironically
whatever the saying.
they were
is.
trying to get over to Asia, right? They're trying to find another route.
Yeah, they were trying to get to. Yeah, maybe that's why, right? Every time somebody's explored outright, they got fucking mollywopped by Tartars.
1492.
1492 what?
Christopher Columbus found the Americas.
Oh, Jesus. We need to go back to school, dude.
Fuck. Goddamn.
1492.
15th century.
Santa Maria. Was it 3 ships?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa Marina or something? Right?
Which they recreated, and they sail the ocean now.
It was 3 ships?
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here.
Fuck out of here.
Maybe it was more and the other one sank, and they just didn't want to name them.
Yeah. Oh, it was the best mission. It was the best sailing trip.
Yeah, it was.
We have the best ships.
It was 3 ships.
Indict me over it.
I found it first.
Bro, but this brings up the recent thing with they found the ship underneath or no, I mean I guess it wasn't recent, but didn't they find a ship when underneath the Twin Towers?
What?
No,
You didn't hear about that? All right, hold on. Let me Google.
This is a great sidetrack.
This is a great sidetrack.
If you listen to us, we go on sidetracks.
You get sidetracked up in here.
Bear with
you
us.
thought we were Tartarian the whole time. You're
This should be a good one.
No one can stay on topic.
Ship under 10 towers.
Yeah, so they're saying that this was like an old wooden ship that they found in the.
What the fuck? It does look like the bow of the ship, right?
Yeah.
Just like flattened.
All right.
Interesting.
All right.
Oh, that's a ship, dude.
It's
That's a
definitely
ship. That's
dude.
a fucking ship.
Or it's fucking.
And they're covering it up with a tarp so no one fucking sees it. Look at this, dude.
It's like, whoa, we got drones in the sky.
David's onto him. Dude. Animal, dude.
Yeah, look, see, because they're like measuring it.
That's a fucking ship, dude.
It's a ship, dude.
All right, back to Tartar.
Back to Tartar.
Back
But this is just more evidence, right?
Back to Tartar control.
Mud flood.
There's more evidence. Boats underground.
Mud flood. There's your evidence. I don't know what else to tell you.
There it is. Indictment.
Yeah,
Oh my god, dude.
All right, so we're running with this.
play this clip
Run
a
it.
little longer. I'll see what we got here.
Can I get rid of the closed caption or no?
I mean, yeah, you totally could, dude.
Oh, so here we go. So I guess the question is like, did they purposely put the buildings underground like that or no? Right? That's the question.
Well, the
again-
mud flood is what put it
That's
underground.
what covered it.
Well, I mean, again, a lot of these cities, the ground has to be raised up because they have to put the sewage system underneath the ground. So a lot of this is spoken for, and it is something that there are pictures that show this of a time where it didn't happen, and then all of a sudden they show it with pictures of now it looks like this. And in some cases, this had to be done because, these buildings were there before paved roads, before cars, before buggies, where it was just walking around, and horses, you know what I mean? And horses pulling buggies, not, driving around independently without animals. You know what I mean? I mean, that came a little bit later. And we thought when we did the Columbian Exposition, we thought we knew about technology and how great things were and this, that, and third. And we went and we took a look at things, and the steam engine was out way before the Columbian Exposition was. The Columbian Exposition had the steam engine on display there, so I thought it was interesting. Plus, they had steam trains that were bringing people in and out.
I just thought they said that none of that equipment was used for the building process of it, though. I thought is what it was. It was all like horse carriage, buggy stuff.
Regardless, they built it on cylinders that were put in marshland, and they built flat platforms on top of the marshland. To think about how long it took to build the platforms to then put a structure on top of it, I mean, I just think that we're underestimating the human being to think that they couldn't build as sporadically as they have. I mean, even when me and Chris were driving over there by the gas station that they just put up, I forget what it is, a Circle K or something they just put up, and I was like, wow, that building's up already. It's like 1 week it's not there, and then the next week it's there. So, I think when you're not involved in doing something or even know how long something takes, like people who don't cook pizza don't know that it takes X amount of time to cook a pizza. They would put it in not knowing and potentially burn it or undercook it not knowing about how long it could take.
That's with all this extra equipment, though.
That is with a lot of equipment. No, I understand. I understand completely. But these are situations and explanations that we do know had to happen, because of what would happen to the human population if a lot of these places that are brought into question didn't have these sewage systems, and it just kept running the way it's been running with, just water.
And we know for a fact that there wasn't an existing sewage system that they just claimed they built.
Yeah. Yeah, because it's dirt roads.
No, the Romans came up with it.
That's what I'm saying. If it's like underneath it, though, if it's buried underneath it, wouldn't that be a good cover of like it's already there? Let's just
utilize it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's something too. That's a very intriguing question too. But when you see the pictures of a lot of this stuff dug up, there's nothing there. Yeah. So that would negate your argument because we're not seeing that. We're not seeing just pictures that are dug down and these tube systems already there. If I was seeing that, then I would be like, wow, this is interesting because they're saying that they were digging and lifting everything up to put these pipes, but these pipes were already there. That would be groundbreaking. That would be monumental, as monumental as a lot of this other stuff is. These human beings that are just giants that we're seeing throughout.
Run the rest of this clip here, Chris.
It looks like a pizza oven.
This shit looks like it goes even further down, bro.
So, but there's no tubes, though, is what I'm saying. So your argument.
Well, but it goes further down. Wouldn't the tubes be even lower?
It could, but that's not what we're seeing. Look, I know that's in Russia.
Look at the machinery on that.
Check that out. Look at the windows.
Oh.
Look at the windows there, huh?
Pause. Go back, dude. Go back to that one right there.
This one?
Many pre-20th century world maps showed these regions labeled simply as Tartary. And as a geographical knowledge gradually increased, Manchuria, Mongolia became Chinese Tartary, Siberia became Great Tartary, and Central Asia became independent Tartary.
Hey.
Look at this fucking building, though, dude. Like, that shit was covered in a flood, right? Had to be.
What makes you say that, though?
Look at how it was built, dude. Just look at it. Like, they didn't fucking build it like that at ground level.
They didn't build
You just what? You dug a hole fucking 15 feet deep. You, like, fucking made all this fucking great-looking shit.
Basement
that makes like having a basement makes sense.
Basement apartments be hitting different, though. Just so I don't know if any of y'all ever live in a basement.
Mm-mm. No,
yeah,
I've went into a basement. But
basements be hitting different, bro. I'm just letting y'all know right now. Like
Florida
your clothes smell different. Your house smell different. Like your basement smell different. Like they just hit different. Yeah, because you're underground. So I don't know, like moisture and shit. It just hits different.
I feel like it makes sense that when they're building a house, that they would dig a hole and use like the ground to kind of like hold the house, keep the walls from like or whatever, you try to stand the wall up straight, you have to have like supports on the bottom, right?
Well, no, what they do is they build a foundation, right? And then they literally pour a foundation of concrete, and then they start building cinder blocks on top of the foundation, and then they put rebar in, and then they start building the walls on top of that.
Well, now, yeah, right?
Yeah.
Back then, did they do that? Yeah. For this house, do you think?
Back then, I don't know I don't know how they built it.
They built this house like fucking normal, then it was covered in a mud flood.
I would assume that be built the same way, right? Because you ever hear houses settling and houses moving and
oh yeah, for sure,
foundations and things like that.
Because our crust is moving.
I would say that. Well, they say that the house settles, that the weight and everything shifts eventually. Yeah, that's why. That's the other reason behind the scientific reason, which makes the Giza Plateau and how those corners in every room in the pyramids in the Giza Plateau are so mind-boggling. Because when you put the meter up to it, the walls and the corners are better than any one of our houses that are built.
It didn't need to settle.
The corners are better than any of our houses that we live in right now. The corners are better than.
It was settled when they built it.
The walls in the pyramids are more straighter than any house you ever lived in. That's why that's so mind-boggling, because you're getting down to microscopic levels and it's still perfect.
It's just hard because like this style of building, I feel like, is so far removed from like how we build today. You know?
You think?
Yeah, I mean,
it's
for sure.
It's got why. What's so different about that? I mean, obviously, there's a difference between the regions.
Because I think it's wood frame.
Buildings
right?
are built in Florida.
Is this a wood frame building, or
I
is
have
it
no idea.
masonry?
Yeah, I have no idea.
Because the way the windows look, it looks like it's wood frame.
I mean, it just has a brick front. They used brick a lot back then.
Yeah, it's
they
just
used
like
red brick a lot.
It's just like the front fascia, right?
Mm-hmm.
But
I mean, same thing in Jersey, in Newark, in Patterson, in Passaic. There's a lot of buildings with the red brick. Philadelphia, the whole Philadelphia is built that way, with that red brick.
Yeah.
Cobblestone roads. That was something that was
downtown
big.
Largo, dude.
Cobblestone roads were big back then. That's what they used to make roads. Solid block that couldn't be broken. I mean, it's hard to break those brick, those cobblestones. Yeah, they're strong.
All right, run this clip.
Drove on that when we were in Savannah. All right.
Pause. Look at this fucking architecture, though, dude.
Yeah, pretty wild.
Just in the middle of fucking nowhere. This is a post-apocalyptic picture. Like, look at the fucking barren wasteland this fucking masterpiece is just sitting on, dude. Weird.
Very.
Roll that beautiful footage. Roll that beautiful conspiracy footage.
Pause.
Interesting.
What are the there's like steps and everything there in that previous picture?
This looks like a quarry.
Oh, they were just built. They built those steps to just
so they could just go up and down.
Yeah, those are wood steps. What is that white shit over to the right? It almost looks like rock. That's not. That's wood too, huh?
Yeah, no,
Maybe
it's
a
just
lot
more
of
like
wood.
ladder, stairs,
Yeah, okay.
scaffolding. Looks like they're building out something here, adding some steel. I don't know, or is that just more wood?
I don't know.
Whoa.
What is it?
Does it say Geico? Oh, Coliseum.
Yeah. Look at that. They found the altar. Yeah, you trying to say the Romans didn't use that Colosseum? It wasn't.
I mean, if you reset the history, right? Like, you can fucking say anyone used it.
These photos speak for themselves.
What's interesting is they really didn't like kill that many people.
And the near past was happened a mud flood disaster that covered lower parts of buildings and houses.
But a lot of that did happen though, so it's like you can't say it didn't happen. That's what makes this difficult. To a lot of it happened.
But whether it was used
That's a very
as structures in a
beautiful
previous empire is what's debatable.
This is in Europe somewhere.
Who's in there? Whoa!
Tunnels.
Pause.
Tunnels.
Okay, so we got the red bricks. We got all this. Is this the drainage
Tunnels.
systems that they had before?
I don't know.
I can smell this picture.
Yeah, I fucking can too, bro.
So look at that doorway. He's saying that they built the tunnels. I don't know what he's saying, but this is very. I don't know what he's saying here. I'm not gonna speak for the guy. I don't know.
But I'm gonna try to.
No, I'm not.
We're trying to interpret.
Look at that doorway, though. Why is that doorway there? That's a massive doorway.
I'm telling you, giants weren't going through this though.
You don't know shit.
I know everything, dude. I'm the lizard man, dude.
Shout out to Lizard Man. He's not here today.
Handler.
Shout out to our lizard handler.
He got away from us.
He got away.
We got away from him.
We'll rope him back in. He's a family lizard.
This is a fucking giant tunnel, dude. This is a giant tunnel, Chris. Giants were what? Look at that man. He's halfway.
It's a pretty interesting tunnel.
Dude, this guy's like 4'3". What are you talking
Made
about?
out of cobblestone. It's
Bro,
very-
he's not the Italian heavyweight lifter, okay?
is that is that
Bro, you don't think
that
that's a
cobblestone tunnel?
That's a size 36 if I've ever seen one, dude. What do you mean?
That tunnel is 30 feet tall and he's 18 feet. Roll that footage.
Roll that.
Roll it.
Roll out.
A lot of tunnels here, huh?
Isn't that just where they buried all the people, though?
In
This
the
does
tunnel.
look like some catacomb shit, right?
In the tunnels.
That's not even real, dude. Somebody drew this.
AI made it. Seeing AI doctrine through all of this.
And see, yeah, here we get to all that red brick shit, right? Why is it the red brick underneath, but on top they've changed all the fascia, all that street-facing stuff, right? Is that kind of like the same principle of like the whitewashing, right?
Possible. I mean,
not-
anything's possible at this point because none of us were there. I mean, all this information we have to take what it's been given to us as, and then what? And then dispute what it is?
With a grain of salt, you know?
I mean, dispute what they're telling us? I mean, are we to dispute every single thing in every facet of our lives? I mean, where do we draw the line in believing what we're told? Where does that line get drawn?
Look, Chris,
Maybe
you got the
we-
giant tunnel to the right,
maybe we gotta
and then we
raise
got the
that.
regular human tunnel on the left.
You're talking about they segregated
They-
heights,
I was
dude?
about to say,
That's fucked up. I'm
Couldn't
glad,
just use the same door, huh?
I'm glad we took them out.
Couldn't just use the
Fuck-
same door, huh?
fuck
You had to
tall
have your
people,
own- You had to have your own door. You had to have your own door.
What if I want to go through the big door?
You can
Giant lives matter, bro. Come on, man.
But if you get stepped on, it's your fault.
run it.
See,
No-
what
no
if
mud
that's
there.
just how they had to build on like hills and shit?
No mud there
You know, the ground's not flat, right? They're like, oh, how do we?
on a mountain.
Yeah.
On the side of a mountain.
I don't know. I don't know.
Well, what'd you build that house for on the side of a mountain? That's my next question. What are you building
Why
on
not?
a mountain for?
Why
It
not?
appears during the Great Reset of 150 years ago that evidence of Tartary civilization was likely destroyed between the 19th and 20th century through mud floods, direct energy weapons, and scheduled mass exterminations.
That's this guy's opinion, people. That's not accounted actually in history.
I thought DEWs just fried your brain.
Look, this guy, if this is his opinion, this isn't energy weapon beams. You're not going to get into a fight with this guy? But the guy down at the pizzeria you're going to fight with is that energy weapon beam?
Well, yeah, I mean, like, what that guy at the pizzeria was talking about was, like, a little, like, targeted, like, he's
Well, this
getting
is what this
blasted
guy's
by, like,
saying, same
microwaves, like, frying his thing. But I think what he's saying here,
Yeah.
direct energy, I've heard some people talk about this,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And
yeah.
it's pretty out there, pretty crazy idea.
Let the people at home know.
So he
us in.
he goes in and he shows pictures of, like, these mountains and
Suck
shit,
me in.
right? And it looks like the rock has just been, like, melted almost, kind of. And so, like, he was trying to imply that there was, and part of this reset process to destroy some of the stuff, they just straight up fucking hit stuff with, like, a fucking plasma beam, right? And it just fucking melts all the architecture, and then you get this, like, fucking, yeah, a little, like, melted, like, rock.
Those videos?
I don't. I'm sure maybe if we did a search later, we'd be able to find it, but
I mean, we should just do a straight episode on direct energy weapons.
Right?
we can.
Do a
Yeah.
whole epi.
Can.
Yeah, we can.
You very well can, people. If you want to see direct energy weapon show, you let us know in the comments down below, or hit us up on the YouTube in the comments section on the YouTubes there, and then Conspiracy Commission, and then podcast, and then you
Good to
get
go.
what you ask for.
Many pre-20th century world maps showed these regions labeled simply as Tartary, as Dreve. Oh wait, we
Oh,
already
we
read
did
this
that,
part.
yeah.
We already read this part. Final book burning in the 1800s, destroying all records of history, removing all advanced knowledge of this advanced human civilization,
Interesting.
which included the Tartarian people. It's kind of an idea that this was like a global.
They're witches.
I'm hearing the ideas of, but all these maps only show them in Asia. I don't really see the connection there, but maybe that's because we're only seeing part
Let it
of the messing with history. Pause, dude. What the fuck is this, bro? What the fuck is this?
Well, what you have here is a solid.
You have all the brainwashed sheep getting transported into the new life, and you have this massive fucking complex out in the middle of fucking nowhere, dude. What the fuck is this, bro?
They said, "Bring us your Tartar books, or you're going to prison."
Dude, what is this?
Are you saving your Tartar books, or are you
There's
going to
a
prison?
huge line for fish sticks, and everybody's got tartar.
And everybody's got
I don't know
that.
about fish sticks, but I could go for a pretzel.
With a little bit of beer cheese. I don't like mustard.
Depends on the mustard. I ain't gonna discriminate.
Interesting. Right? I don't know.
This is a crazy fucking picture,
It's
man.
a factory.
It is
They're on
kind
their
of
way
just
to
like
work.
out in the middle of nowhere, right?
They're on their way to work. It's a factory.
How the
Oh,
fuck does
this
this
is-
get built, bro?
This was the last building they had to take down in Chicago.
This is the Russian exposition. I don't know, people.
They do look cold. Look at this fur
Run
coat
it.
right
Let's see
here.
what we got. Run it. What are we getting here? And then you go to that, which is not as
appealing.
masterful as the one before. Whoa. That looks like The Simpsons, and that's where Mr. Burns lives.
Another part where this whole conspiracy starts getting crazy,
I've seen this
bro, is
photo
like
once.
those
3 times
buildings
now.
with like the spires. They start talking about how they're like fucking power plants, and that's how they
Yeah,
like
I
the
was seeing
antennas and the
that.
structure and the architecture of it is like what like they have like healing frequencies and all this other like crazy shit, dude.
Run it.
I mean, I guess what we're trying to get at here is that this could totally be like the things getting covered in mud and being lost, you know, and not being seen until somebody digs them up later. It's a total possibility.
Oh,
Large,
definitely,
yeah, large
definitely.
It's a huge possibility.
That shit goes deep. That's fucking 10 stories deep.
Whoa.
What is this archway built for?
Burnings, sacrifice.
He claims here that they were an advanced civilization using free energy and technology devices similar to Atlantean culture.
Ooh.
And so this disrupts the official narrative.
Uh-oh. Look at the size of that bell.
The
dude.
massive bells, these weird dome structures.
I mean, let them ring, dude.
And to hide the fact that they're power plants, they all just get moved
Is that the
into
Liberty Bell?
churches. It's the claim.
What's that? Fossilized
Fossilized trees.
Found all over the world containing multiple rock layers. Add the fact that there's no erosion marks between the sedimentary rock layers anywhere in the world, the evidence is overwhelming that the biblical account of a worldwide flood is accurate.
Bum, bum, bum.
Cataclysms. Cataclysms.
Let's go.
Unbelievable. How many were there? Who knows?
Let's get
Could
started.
that not be what this is a result of?
100%.
Cataclysm.
I mean, we talked about layers of the earth being wiped with fire.
I mean, we're talking.
What about layers that
200-foot
got wiped with
waves.
mud?
We're talking 200 foot waves here. You know, we're talking sediment, which would end up being a silky type mud that gets thrown around throughout the entire world that we live in. You know, who's to say that a lot of these buildings weren't back from 11,000?
This is another claim that's very popular. The existence of Tartaria was erased from the historical records about 120 years ago, and this country is never mentioned in the history classroom nowhere in the world. Why? Question mark, question mark, question mark. Go to Wikipedia real quick and type in Tartaria Empire or Tartaria. What is the official narrative on Tartaria here? I never remember hearing anything about it in school. Never. Did you
Not
hear
once,
anything about
no.
it in school?
Not
Chris,
that
did
I
you
can
hear anything
remember.
about it in school?
No.
No, not the Terraria, not the
most
game
we were
Terraria.
told about was that bridge and that thing that
Tartary. Here we go. Wikipedia.
German,
Russians.
France, Russian.
Oh, so Tartaria is actually French. Or no, Latin.
Tartaria was a blanket term used in Western European literature and cartography for a vast part of Asia bonded by the Caspian Sea, the Ural Mountains, Pacific Ocean, and the northern borders of China, India, and Persia, at a time when the region was largely unknown to European geographers.
See, that's the narrative. Is that that was just what they called people from that part of the region. Like, they knew the land existed, but they just didn't know anything about it. Which doesn't make sense. Right?
Much of the area consists of plains. Yeah, it must be really hard to get over there, Bill.
I mean,
flat
these
land.
look like mountains if I've ever seen mountains.
Right, you
know?
got like the
They're
Ural
talking about-
Mountains would like hurt, like impede you, I guess.
Well, I've never been over there, so I can't say.
Pause. The decline. Before we go into the conspiracy theory here, decline. The use of Tartary declined in the region, became more known by European geographers, blah, 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 by the 19th century. Uh-oh. We got some Jesuit influence here.
Uh-oh.
The ethnographical data collected by Jesuit missionaries in China contributed to the replacement of Chinese Tartary in Manchuria in European geography by the early 18th century.
So they just switched their names.
After the Jesuits came in. Great.
And like I had a video over here.
That's got to
like,
fucking inspire all the conspiracy theorists for a cover-up, dude.
Right.
All right, so what did they say about the Tartarian conspiracy theory here? First aspects of this appearing in Antonis Fromenico's New Chronology, and then popularized by the racial occult history of Nikolai Levdashov in Russian pseudoscience known for its nationalism. Tartary is presented as the real name for Russia, which is ignored by the West. The Russian Geographical Society has debunked it. Since 2016, these conspiracies have gained popularity.
1915's World's Fair were actually the buildings of a vast empire based in Tartaria that has been suppressed from history.
So we gotta go into that. 1915's World Fair.
Oh, yeah.
San Francisco, California.
So they started on the east side, right? And then they just worked their way west.
No, I was it really? I thought it was in Europe first.
Oh, yeah, okay, you're right.
Yeah, it was in Europe first, and then they came over here.
Yeah.
Because remember, the buildings in Europe were even more magnificent.
the Crystal
than what
Palaces and
the
shit.
Crystal Palace. Yeah, these buildings were even more magnificent than the ones that we found in the United States.
I mean, this video here kind of like is like a debunk.
Let's go for it. Let's run it. Kings and generals.
Is internet myth and give you some tools you can use to debunk it should you be unfortunate enough to see it in the wild.
Unfortunate enough.
Oh, dude, this guy's shots fired, bro.
Tartar in relation to the Mongol Empire. You know what is not controversial and is always in good taste, but you would also a massive empire in missions to the Tartaria myth.
There we go.
We will address the most basic version.
Okay.
In short,
Give us the
myth
basic one.
states that most of the Eurasian continent was, until about 200 years ago, incorporated into a massive empire called Great Tartaria, or Tartary. Depending on the chronology the specific poster uses, this either followed the Mongol Empire, or the Mongol Empire was in fact a part of this. Usually, Great Tartaria is presented as a period of peace, prosperity, and technological advancement, an idyllic world where all the cultures of Asia lived in harmony. The mythmakers generally do not agree on the makeup of the empire's population, with some arguing that
Which we are having a hard time doing.
they were Mongolian, East Asian, or the Tartars of modern Russia and Eastern Europe, while others argue that the
Or giants.
rulers of Great Tartaria were white people, or sometimes even giants.
Oh.
What specifically brings down Great Tartaria is vague. Some of the commenters have Europeans, usually the British Empire, jealous or fearful of Tartaria's might, and succeed in not just overcoming it, but destroying all evidence, both literary and archaeological, as well as any folk memory of the empire across all of Asia. So determined were the Europeans to not be challenged in their authority again. Other versions have the same process, but instead stick the blame onto history's favourite scapegoats, the Jews, who sometimes work in tandem with the British Empire, or actually run it, while those who like to see Tartaria's masters as white people tend to have the Jews act on their own. The end result is the same, with the Jews somehow toppling the empire. Still others have Tartaria's collapse come not from any human power, but
see any of this
ecological,
anywhere.
a great mud flood, which supposedly blanketed human societies. Tartaria was the great victim, leaving no trace behind except for sunken buildings dotted around the world. The understanding for these adherents, then, is that the rest of history is fabrication, filling in the gap left by the flood.
Interesting.
But if the British, Jews, or mud erased all evidence of Great Tartaria, then how do these modern super sleuths manage to know of its existence? Well, for all their cleverness, the unseen enemy overlooked one matter.
That's a good question. So if the whole thing is exactly what you say it is, and it's fake, then
Why do
there
we
should
see maps?
Well, there should be no evidence of it, period, because you got rid of it. And I mean, to get rid of maps, that'd be an easy thing to do, no? Wouldn't it? I mean,
Well, they talk about like burning the books and
they
like all
burned
this other
everything
stuff.
else, right?
they didn't, because we're seeing it, and we just seen it. We seen the books. We seen everything. So I don't know. You know, that's the problem with his question that he just asked, is that we're still seeing all this other evidence that pertains to it. So to say that, you know, it wouldn't exist, period, if it weren't real, you know what I'm saying? Like, he literally said that if it was real, it shouldn't exist, or it should exist.
I think he's saying it exists. It exists, but
He's saying the conspiracy
not
alleges that they were erased.
yeah,
So
it doesn't exist how we thought, or like how the conspiracy thinks.
But it did exactly get erased, because we don't know anything. We don't know anything else. Like,
yeah,
what
this
else
is
do
this
we
is
know?
a weird point he's trying to make here.
Yeah.
I don't know. Let's continue.
Yeah.
European cartographers of the last 400 years. As the Tartarian truthers have pointed out, cartographers from across Europe marked massive swathes of Asia as Tartary, Grand Tartaria, and other variations of the term. The trend continues to the modern day, where Tartary continues to be used for the Strait of Tartary, for example, between the
So
Russian-
just Europeans were using this term?
Correct.
The Asians were not using this term?
Correct.
Right, and then after the Jesuits
ju-
went over there and they were like, "Oh, you guys are called Manchurians."
Yeah.
So again, it's the person who's writing history, which is Europe, is the one who's this is all from. Because it's not an Asian guy saying this.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like, well, so again, it's literally just being funneled through one spectrum. It's bottlenecking, and it's only Europe that did this. It's not known throughout. So every region wasn't doing this. The Europeans were calling everything they haven't been to yet these terms.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Like he's saying that that's just where the word is, right?
Okay. No,
So,
I'm just asking. I just wanted to make sure, because I'm not. It's not being, to me. It wasn't ever being delegated properly who was using this term and where the term came from. So it was a European term, and only Europeans were using this term.
Right.
I didn't know that. I thought that this was an overall term that everyone in the world was using.
just to refer to that region.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the whole world was using it, or we don't know. So is my final question.
Yeah, I mean, to the European cartographers,
Okay.
right? They are the whole world,
Okay.
right? You know,
Okay.
they're the whole fucking center of
Run
everything.
it. I'm just asking.
coast and the island of Sakhalin. Which suddenly begs the question, if the goal was to remove Tartary from human memory, why can it so easily be found not only in historical maps, but even in modern geographic usage? And this is where the Tartarian theory falls apart, as if struck by a massive mud flood. Tartary, or Tartaria, was simply a European name to refer to most of Asia, and from the 13th century until the 19th, remained perhaps the most common, if rather ambiguously defined, a term which was almost synonymous in the European mind with the East. Central Asia and Siberia were most regularly referred to as Tartary, often in overlap with Turkestan, Mogulistan, and Zungaria. Manchuria and China itself, particularly under the Qing dynasty, were sometimes included in it as well. More ambitious though inaccurate maps even included India. However, it is never a political term, but a geographic one, much like how we today will use Africa or Asia to refer to the continents, but understand that these do not refer to unified political bodies.
Okay.
It would be useful then.
That makes
that's-
sense, right?
He really, because that's what I didn't. That's why I wasn't. Okay, yeah. So it's just a term that they would use to call a landmass or a group of people, right?
Right. Well, like, yeah, they were like, this is what this region is called, and if you saw somebody in that region, you just assumed that they were whatever.
Tartarian.
Yeah.
Okay, right.
Yeah.
No, this
And
is
to
interesting.
That's like if you go, like he's saying, if you go over to Africa and you're in like, I don't really know any of this.
Well, I mean, if you
Countries.
were in
Like
the
Zimbabwe or
Arab
something.
countries, that's what you would say. If you were in Afghanistan, you would say you're in the Arab countries. You wouldn't say you're in Africa, even though you're on the African continent. Am I correct? Isn't that the African continent? Egypt and
Very like
Egypt, yeah.
Yeah, Egypt's in Africa, yeah.
but isn't it any Egyptian and an Arab nation?
But once you like start going over to like
if you go over to Egypt today and you start calling people in Egypt African,
Right.
they're like, no, we're Egyptian.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
I guess that's like the whole thing. It's like that's an example of what this is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Run it.
And then the Jews went over there and they're like, yeah, they're what do you call it? Macharian, right?
oh, the Jesuits, not the Jews.
Jesuits.
Explore the historical usage of the term Tartar.
What are we
and how
looking
it
at? What are
ended
these two
up on
towers? I don't
maps.
understand what that is.
For that, we need to look at what Tartar refers to in the historical sources. The word Tartar
dildos that's sticking
originally
out of the ground?
refers
What
to
are we looking
peoples
at?
in Mongolia, first recorded in the early 8th century Orkhon inscriptions, and with sparse mentions in the works of Central Asian geographers or Chinese dynastic sources in the following centuries. It
Dynastic.
reached its widest audience, so to speak, during the Mongol Empire. Generally speaking, sources from outside of the Mongol Empire, especially in the first half of the 13th century, such as Arabic, Persian, Armenian, the Rus Principalities, the Byzantine Empire, and European travelers like Friar Julian, William of Rubric, or John de Plano Carpini, to letters from Queen Rusudan of Georgia or King Louis IX of France, to even Vietnam and Java, refer to the Mongols as Tartars. Sources from the Mongol Empire and Eastern Asia tend to paint more complicated pictures. Independent sources, like the Jin dynasty official Li Xinchuan, or the Song dynasty envoys, whose accounts were compiled in the Mengda Beilu and Haida Shilur, compiled by visitors to the courts of the Mongol viceroy Mukhali and the great Khan Urgadai, use Mongol to refer to the state and Tartar as the population.
This is since the 8th
An
century.
intriguing example comes from Urgadai himself, who in a letter demanding the submission of Korea refers to himself and his peoples as Tartars. Historian Stephen Pow has argued that Tartar in the late 12th century.
So we do have
Proof.
representation of people referring to themselves as Tartars.
Proof.
It's not just some.
In a letter. Proof.
It's not just they just made it up, right? I guess.
Didn't this guy just contradict himself then?
Yeah.
I think so. Right?
Yep. Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah. Go on.
Served as a general endonym for at least part of the peoples of the Mongolian plateau, with Mongol originally just the dynastic name of the political union established by Genghis Khan in 1206.
Yeah, but in the 8s you were calling yourself Tartarian.
Will constantly refer to people as Tartars, but
Tartars.
the empire itself is always the Mongol Empire, the Yeke Mongol Ulus, especially in the few surviving Mongolian language documents of the period, such as the letters of submission the Khans sent to the popes. Then, around the 1240s, and increasingly
Yeah, but you
into the
just said,
1250s,
pause it. You just
we
said
begin to
in the 8s, though. You were writing letters, Mongolian letters, referring to Mongolians as Tartars. Tartars. He just said that in the 8th.
I thought that was the 8th.
Yeah, the 8th century.
800, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, right here. Back a little bit more. He literally says it. Run it. Doesn't he say it? Run it. Right, yeah.
Piled by visitors to the courts of the Mongol viceroy Mukhali and the great Khan Urgadai, use Mongol to refer to the state and Tartar as the population.
Right
An
there.
intriguing example comes from Urgadai himself, who in a letter demanding the submission of Korea refers to himself and his peoples as Tartars.
Right here.
Historian Stephen
In the
Powell
8s, look.
has argued that Tartar in the late 12th century
12th
served as a general endonym for at least part of the peoples
Right
of the
there.
Mongolian
He literally
plateau,
just admitted
with
in the
Mongol
12th century
originally just the dynastic name of the political
that
union
that's what you
established
call a
by
group
Genghis
of
Khan in
Mongolians.
1206.
When you
This is
refer to
reflected
all the
in how
Mongolians, you
sources
refer
will
to them as
constantly
Tartars.
refer to people as Tartars, but the empire itself is always the Mongol Empire, the Yeke Mongol Ulus, especially in the few surviving
amongst
Mongolian language documents
Asians.
of the period, such as the letters of submission the Khans sent to the popes.
Just like you call, we're the United States, but we're Americans.
1250s,
Yeah.
we begin to see a
So
shift.
he just said it.
Yeah, it was the.
It's not
the
made up.
Mongol.
It's not made up.
Yeah.
All right, so it's not a conspiracy. That's a real. People are a real thing. Run it.
in usage, with travelers.
Because he said he was going to fucking blow shit out of the water and cover it with mud, and it's not happening.
In the 1240s, Plano Carpini and Simon of St. Quentin record that while others called them Tartars, they preferred to be called Mongols.
Okay,
Carpini's
pause it. Okay, so
they
even
don't-
they're admitting that they call themselves Tartars, but they want to be called Mongolians.
Yeah.
Publicized account of his
Took 40 years.
Awkwardly titled "The
Took 2
Mongols
generations.
Whom We Call Tartars." The trend reached its apogee in the later 13th and 14th centuries.
Oh, 13th
Then,
and 14th.
government
That's 2
sources
generations,
associated
right?
with the
That's 2 generations of people.
dynasties. First with Great Khan Mongke,
200 years.
then the Yuan in China and Ilkhanate in
300
Iran.
3
Mongol
generations?
becomes the
Couple
catch-all
generations.
term for the state and people, with Tartar reduced to a single rebellious tribe in eastern Mongolia. The trend kicks off with The Secret History of the Mongols, compiled in 1252 on Mongke's order, and continuing with the most heavily utilized imperial sources, such as the Compendium of Chronicles of the Ilkhanate Vizier Rashid al-Din, or the Ming-era Yuanxi, composed from Yuan imperial documents. There, the Tartars were exterminated by Chinggis Khan at the start of the 13th century. Taken at face value that the Tartars were only a single specific group in Mongolia,
I get what he's saying.
it has been difficult to explain
He's
how
saying
it
that
is
they're a
so
group of
many
people.
peoples across the
It couldn't have been
Right,
this magnificent.
within the huge empire of the Mongols, certain groups referred to themselves as Tartar.
And this one got segregated off to a huge group of people referred to as potentially a gang. Bloods or Crips, I don't know, whatever gang you want to choose to throw up there. MS-13s, whatever you want.
And Genghis Khan was like, nah, we gotta get rid of them.
And they went and did that. And they got rid of all the Tartar. So, I mean, look.
Sounds like food.
Right? So, like, all right. So, Tartars existed. That's for real. That's not, but maybe, I guess, the blanket term that was used for this conspiracy subject, which is Tartarian Empire, may have been wrong, right? But there are some things that are still unexplainable that I don't think this guy touches on. Does he give us a reason for the exact reason on why there's a library built of massive sized books and throughout history? I know they said that there were swords and stuff that were put in places that were made to be fake and things like that. But I'm just wondering if this guy has anything at all on
The flood part of it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not 100%.
Or is
I think
he's just
I think
Tartarian.
I think he just breaks
letting
down.
you know it was an actual physical group of people and they didn't have the technology that you're speaking of.
Right, exactly.
Okay. So he's definitely I guess factual in that sense.
He's taking it out at the knee at the knees,
saying that but that he didn't though. He just took out of it that you shouldn't be using this term to blanket this conspiracy.
There could
This
be
is
like
like-
civilization.
Do
that
the
was just
dates
called
really
something
match up
else.
though? I mean, he's talking about 800s. He's talking about 1200s, 1300s.
Well, yeah, because this
And then
is
we jump-
before. This is before even the expositions.
Yeah. Then we
Because the
jump over to
expositions-
17s and 1800s.
Well, because this expeditions were in the 15s.
That's what I'm saying. Like he's taking the aspect that the name.
Yeah.
So if you get rid of the name, right? It's not Tartar or
Tartarian
Tartaria
Empire.
or anything like that, but it's still there. Like that's what I'm
Has
saying.
actuality.
He's like, oh, that's not what they're called, but he's ignoring
Everything else.
everything else. Yeah,
But
I
he
just-
did
I-
know. He
I
did
still
touch
don't.
on.
I still don't know if the dates line up though, dude.
for this,
What
he's
do you
just
know?
saying where the name came from.
Yeah, Tartarian.
Yeah, when you use the word Tartaria or Tartarian, Tartar in the 1200s or the 800s, this is what it refers to.
A small, all the way up until the 19th.
Yeah.
When did he say that?
He said that like earlier
Yeah,
in the video.
No, he's talking about the Mongol Empire.
What?
He's talking about the Mongol
No.
Empire.
Before that, though,
He was saying how
on the other,
Europeans.
on the other one, we're getting the two videos confused. On the other video, he says when the term stopped being used, which is the 1900s, is when the term completely got like
Removed.
whisked away from history.
I don't know,
They
dude.
stopped
It's
using
just
the
like
term.
this weird 700-year time span that we're just fucking washing over here. I don't know. Very weird.
But I'm
Well, yeah,
I'm just saying that there's like a time in history where we stopped using the term and the term just didn't get used anymore. And there's evidence of it in the other one where he literally states that from this time to this time it was primarily used to. He says it in the other video. We already read it out.
yeah.
And he says that they used it as a blanket term to call the landmass. So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay. So I get where this guy's argument is. This guy's argument's like, all right, well, you guys are saying that it's a term of people who were giants and this and this and this. And this guy's like, no, it's not. This was a group of people in Mongolia.
Yeah. It can't be both.
It's not that it can't be. It's you know what I mean?
It's
just,
that
what
we're
are the
we're taking the blanket statement of Tartaria from the European. That's what they refer to, that group of civilization.
You know what
right?
I mean? Like when they have an archaeological site that they find in Oklahoma somewhere, and instead of calling the archaeological site what it is that they found in the ground, they call it where they found it.
Well, it's like if I came up to you and I was like, "Oh, dude, there's a huge civilization that lived hundreds or thousands of years ago, and they had free energy and all this crazy stuff," and then you were like, "Oh, well, how do you know?" And I pulled up a map that said, "Look, they were this civilization and they called themselves the Grand Tartaria." You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And he's just breaking down that part. So if you keep the whole like civilization, free energy, all this crazy stuff, covered it up, and you just didn't call them Tartaria, they were called something else, you know.
Then
that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah, then it would be different, because now we don't have a group. We don't have these group of people. See what they did was, and I don't know if this was done on purpose, but by calling this information Tartarian and saying it's a part of the Tartarian Empire, which we just found out who the Tartarians were. They were Mongoloids.
In the 1200s.
Mongolians.
In the 800s.
Till now.
And then 500 years. No, the Mongol Empire is done after 1300, 1350. There's no more Mongol Empire. Genghis Khan gets fucked.
Asian, so Asians still exist.
Yeah, exactly. And then we have another 300 years till we get to the 1700s.
I just don't understand why you can't comprehend that it shouldn't be called that. It should be called something else.
I don't see why that's a guarantee.
Well, just because it's a group of people. He literally just told you that there's literally evidence
of a group of people in the 800s or the 1300s that call themselves or referred to as Tartars.
They were Asians.
All right, now fast forward 400 years.
Okay.
We're not talking about those same people anymore.
Who's we? Like it's
the people who are talking about a Tartarian conspiracy, or that there was some empire called Tartaria that was erased.
But the Europeans
I get what
still
you're saying,
referred to that region
as
Tartarian up until the 19th century.
Maybe because there was an empire there called Tartar or Tartary or whatever.
Right.
Well, all we're saying is that this guy's saying there's proof it was a group of people that they can.
In the 1200s.
Yeah.
All right.
Right. That's my thing. So.
Yeah, I just don't think that I don't think this blows the lid off.
No. I didn't say
not being a possibility of another empire 400 or 500 years in the future existing.
No, you're just missing what I'm trying to say.
Okay, maybe
I'm not discrediting any of that.
Okay.
I'm just saying there's an actual group of people called Tartarians, and they were Mongolians, and that's all I'm trying to say.
Right.
Not anything more or anything less than that.
Right.
So there's nothing outrageous anymore about the name, because it was an actual group of people that called themselves that, referred to themselves as that, and then didn't want to be called that anymore, so refers themselves to something different now, which we refer to them as Asians now, but before it was Mongolians, and before that it was Tartarians. Saying the term was used, recorded in the 8s, recorded by them. Recorded.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what I'm saying. So there's a body of people, which were Asian, that called themselves that, right? And that's where this guy stops. He doesn't go into all the things you're talking about.
Right.
The technological things, or any of that.
Isn't this what he's implying, though?
No, this is what Europe is implying. And if we're trying to cover something up, this is what we do, because now we hit a dead end. Are you getting it? Are you understanding that?
He's saying it's not a cover-up because it's still
a group of people, but I'm saying it is because
I'm saying the name is not right.
Right, and we hit a dead end now because it's a group of people, but they're nothing special.
I don't think this is proof that the name is wrong or that the word is wrong or whatever. I don't think that. Isn't that what this guy is trying to say, though?
No, the guy is trying to say that historically they're Asian, Tartarians. Historically written, they're Asians. Historically written down in letters and everything. Like we have actual fucking evidence.
Right, in 800 and
so all
1200.
me and Chris are trying to say is, what if they were something else or a different type of people?
Could be.
And we're just getting the name wrong. They're telling us they're Tartarian, and that's why we come to a hole in the wall of a segregated people who didn't want to bow down to the Mongolians.
I'm saying,
and then separated themselves, and then it got taken over by the Mongolians because they didn't want to be Mongolian. They wanted to be Tartarian.
Right,
because we're
could be, but
you're looking at these mud floods and you're seeing that,
And you're drawing the correlation to the
there's
two.
There's something that was covered up, and then you come across this map and you're like, oh my god, dude,
They're Asian.
Grand Tartaria, dude. That's the civilization, but that wasn't the
It
civilization
wasn't at all. And it wasn't the technology.
They
it
were
wasn't any of that.
they were maybe other people in that region that were called, we don't know what they were called.
we do.
Why?
We do because of the dates. We're talking about hundreds and hundreds of years. Dude.
What date though? What are you referring to that's
you keep
saying
bringing up the date,
Tartaria?
but what's referred to as
the
same?
map, the European map?
Yeah,
But that's
because
that's
we have Mongol Empire. Europe referred to
Yeah,
it
but
as Mongol Empire.
yeah,
After Mongol Empire,
dude.
we have Tartaria.
Dude,
right? Am I
I'm gonna
correct?
say this, and I'm done with them. I'm gonna say this. I'm done. The Europeans are the only ones saying that, and you have no proof that it's coming from anyone else. It's literally Europe. He literally just said it was Europe. The Europeans were the ones that were writing this and telling us this, and that's what I'm telling you. If you're trying to cover up information, drive them to a dead end.
right.
I don't know if that this is. I don't
How's
think
that not a dead end? If the people already existed and there's nothing extraordinary about them at all, like you're missing the point here. You're missing exactly like what we're saying. Like if you're trying to be fed off the road, like we just hit a dead end. Okay, because all right, boom, Mongolians were Tartarians. They admitted it. They have letters that state that they claim that they're that.
Yes.
And there's none of this technology. There's no giants. There's none of that. And anything that we're going to uncover about Mongolians or any of that. So that's what I'm trying to say is that that's not correlating the name of these people with what the conspiracy is about is what I'm saying.
I think it still can. I don't think it's a dead
You
end.
think it can.
I don't think it's a dead end. I don't think it's a guaranteed dead end because for sure there's some letters in 800 or 1200 that say we refer to ourselves as Tartar. Right?
So you don't believe
So
that
400
they do.
years in the
I'm
future.
saying, so you don't believe that they do or did. Is that what you're saying? Asians didn't or when you have letters that Asians wrote and then obviously academia of Europe was calling them that to begin with. But no one else was, is what I'm saying. We don't have evidence of anyone else calling them that. Like historically. It's just Europe saying it. Calling them that. And then Mongolians in turn saying, we don't want to be called this anymore. We're going to be called something else.
In 1200.
And then they changed the name.
In 1200.
Yeah, to primarily Mongolians. And then you have
But then after
Asians.
they're still called Tartar hundreds of years in the future.
No.
Yes.
No. Where?
Yes.
Where?
Because Mongol Empire ends in like 1300s, right?
No, 1900s.
No,
Stop saying that.
No,
Yeah.
the Mongol Empire does. Genghis Khan is done in
but I'm saying
1300s.
the term is stopped being used in the 1900s. I'm saying. So you go all the way out of the 18s into the.
So we go from 13s, right? Mongol Empire's done. And then from the 1900s, we're still calling them Tartars.
Yeah. Well, it ends in the 19s.
Well, let's see what he says, because this is like he's saying Genghis Khan's wiping out the last of this tribe or whatever that referred to themselves as Tartar. Right?
Let's go. Let's go. Real
kept
quick.
calling the Mongols Tartars, especially when they had supposedly been exterminated.
See, the world kept calling them
precisely
that.
kicked off the shift
Because they didn't want to be called that
Mongol
anymore.
and Tartar by the mid-13th century is unclear. Stephen Powell suggests it may be associated with the fall of the Jin dynasty in 1234, the great enemy of Genghis Khan. Then, with a new sense of legitimacy and with a whole generation having grown up since the establishment of the empire,
So they're one
Mongol
generation
started
removed.
to become not just the political term, but what we might call the
Which we
ethnic
talked about
one
that.
as well.
Pause it. We talked about that when we talked about how long would it take for us to get rid of information and hide information. And we thought maybe it would take generations. It takes one generation. Literally saying it right here. One generation. He literally just said it. Go on.
The trend, though, seems to be more closely tied to Toluid lineage, which under Moncur seized the imperial throne in the 1250s and likely actively encouraged the usage, not just in the new imperial historiography, but among the people at large. Non-Toluid dynasties, such as the Judgid Golden Horde, never picked up the distinction, with the exception of Batu's son Sartak. Sartak spent time in the imperial capital of Karakoram and among the Toluids, and seems to have identified himself as a Mongol. Hence, when William of Rubruck visited Sartak's encampment in 1253, Sartak's officials insisted that Rubruk not call Sartak a Tatar, but a Mongol. Yet, due to distance and political falling out, Mongol never succeeded in replacing Tatar amongst the Golden Horde's population, made up of Tatars who moved there during the Great Invasion under Batu. Thus, the Golden Horde's population and descendants did not adopt the term Tatar from the Europeans, as is sometimes suggested, but instead had simply never stopped using it. And as Europeans had the closest contact with these populations, Tatar was understood as the name for all nomadic peoples of the steppes. The regular association with the Greek Tartarus resulted in the regular addition by European authors, both medieval and modern, of an extra R in Tatar. Regardless of the specifics of the Chinggisid usage of the term, from the 13th century onwards, Europeans generally understood all lands east of Hungary to be ruled by Tatars, and hence these lands were Tartary or Tartaria, much like how a Roman writer would refer to all lands beyond the Rhine vaguely as Germania. The great 14th century English poet Geoffrey Chaucer, in his Squire's Tale, certainly thought this to be the case when he wrote of Cambuscan, the great king of Tartary, at war with Muscovy. European travel along the inner Asian trade routes and across the Mongol Khanates continued into the mid-14th century, by which point plagues, wars between the Khanates, and collapse of most of them.
Okay, 14th century, dude. We've made it into here, bro. If this shit wasn't called Tartary, we would have known it by now, right? We have trade routes. We're talking to these people.
He just said everyone referred to it as that.
Right? They refer to themselves as it. It's not just a European word, right?
Yeah, no, it's not. That's not. Yeah, it's everyone. Everyone referred to this section of the land as Tartarian.
Okay.
I think he just meant Europe itself. Like anybody.
Yeah, this part of the land.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's too dangerous for further journeys. Without new information on the changing political makeup of Asia, in the following centuries, it was usually assumed that the Tatars simply continued.
They don't make it that far. They make it about this far.
So they make it to like the Ottoman Empire, fucking.
Yeah. And
like, I mean, that's a huge landmass to begin with, dude. You know what I mean? Like,
and that guy that wrote that poem, he even referred to the king as the king of Tartar or Tartary or whatever he called it.
Roll clip.
See ya.
When Christopher Columbus set out at the end of the 15th century, he expected to reach China and anticipated to still find descendants of Kublai Khan ruling there, not knowing that the Yuan dynasty had been pushed from China well over a century prior. Even as European contact and knowledge of Asia increased over the early modern period, the understanding of the region, particularly the steppes, as the lands of the Tatars, remained difficult to drop, particularly when many of these states were still ruled by people who considered themselves descendants of Genghis Khan, Tamerlane, or both. In the case of India, being ruled by the Mughal dynasty was enough.
Like the current history would say that, the accepted history would say that these are just fucking nomadic people living on a plains. Like there's no infrastructure, there's no free energy fucking power plant system, there's no fucking, you know what I mean?
Right. That's my thing, is like this is not.
Well, because that whole region, right, is a lot of desert and rock. This isn't.
It's like steppe plains.
But this isn't at all pertaining to the other unquestionable, the things that we're just get unanswered. That is about this topic. Like, I'm telling you that the name
this guy just does a deep dive into the name.
Yeah, I just think that the name, a blanket term for this one region, but this term no longer can be used for this conspiracy.
Yeah.
Because it's not just that region. Tartarian is this region. It's the whole region and everyone that lives in this part of the landmass. Then what's going on over here in America, in San Francisco, in Chicago, in places like that where we're still seeing this stuff. This is what I'm trying to explain to you, is what's taking you off the trail right now is this whole thing. It's because the word is what shouldn't be used for this. And obviously people are using this term and blanketing this term with this conspiracy, and it's literally a group of people that live in this landmass, which didn't really have much technologically advances.
So we're told.
So
we're told, right? So
we're seeing.
Now, yeah, you could debate whether that's because it's been erased successfully and replaced successfully with this new narrative.
What's this one? Is that the same one we were watching?
No, this is Did you ever see that video of the fallen angel? They dug this up in like Russia.
I think I've seen this. Yeah.
They were excavating like a mine, and then this is what they found.
Такую, ну я скажу эмоции, просто не рассказать. Душа куда-то аж упрыгивает.
The soul has gone somewhere.
We got 30
Не
minutes.
знаю, конечно, не описать. Это просто не рассказать, почему так.
Can't explain the
Что это
emotion.
такое?
It's fucking huge too, dude. Imagine this guy's like 5 foot,
Все эти дела. И вот пока
5, 6 foot
приехали
feet.
все эти товарищи, мы вот тут
Wow.
с ребятами
Wow.
вырвались. Ребята, это вообще трындец.
This could mean
Какие
trouble.
эмоции.
What an emotion.
Андрей, Денис, сними меня.
Wow.
It's fucking huge. I just wanted to bring that up about like, you know, we're constantly uncovering stuff all the time, you know. That's buried underground or whatever. You know, you can't just say that was formed, you know, someone made that.
That's not made by some nomadic people.
No. It takes skill to get that kind of like detail into a
Right,
sculpture.
and then if it's the winged person, I guess anyone in their myths or something could have winged people, but it does look like an angel. Maybe we're interpreting it wrong, but
Well, in the beginning of this video, the guy explains that like a verse in the Bible talks about when, you know, Satan gets expelled from heaven and any angels that agreed with him were also expelled.
Mhm.
So that's what they're saying. This is a fallen angel. You know, this was an evil angel that was cast into down to earth or whatever. You know,
Didn't you think? Remember, I sent you guys that.
and that thing's kneeling.
The Indian tribe in America, in like Arizona or somewhere, Nevada or something. There's an Indian tribe that believes that they were, you know, told to go into the ground and stuff like that. And then he literally
survive the cataclysm.
He literally says at the end of it, at the video, that they're gonna come back and they're gonna clean this planet again. Because like apparently like it just the same thing just keeps happening. Maybe that's what I was saying about the, you know, is that whole Tartarian thing. Maybe like some buildings and stuff of left over from a civilization of people who,
For sure.
you know, could that be, David? Do you think that that's something that could be, or do you just think like it's a whole race of people that was living and doing things before our society took off?
I think that's the main idea of this conspiracy, is that it was some empire level thing.
global.
Could be
Some
global.
global
Could be
type.
global. Because, I mean, people try to reference all the architecture in Europe and in North America. And
True.
I guess pyramids and shit in Egypt.
Yeah.
I mean, that's...
No, I mean it's listen, it's again, like I said, this topic was going to be an incredible topic with a bunch more questions to want to ask than you're getting information.
We don't have any of the CIA documents here.
Right, that's the problem.
fucking Tartar.
There really is no information to go. You know, it's just like a hunch
And
feeling.
like this
Yeah.
guy did an incredible job on the name Tartarian and where it originated from.
That was good, yeah. I haven't heard that
I mean,
before.
I just don't see the correlation and the similarities between, you know,
between that
the
and
Mongolian Empire and this land that the Mongolian Empire was on, and the whole region being called Tartarian, that it had anything to do with the conspiracy that we're talking about, because it literally equivalates to two different things in my mind. You know, I just don't think, you know, the Tartarian is a place, an actuality, and then there's all of these things that are unexplained, and we still have no explanation for, which I would love to dig a little deeper.
if you're
on
watching
these
the video-
massive books.
If you're watching the video the massive books. If you're watching the video here, you can see some of the different maps that have this
Because
stuff.
I've never known anything about those massive books before, and the font size and that's amazing to me.
Yeah, the font size in the book is what threw me off. You know.
Every one of these fucking maps, though, is talking about North Asia.
Yeah. Yeah. This isn't like
It's because it's an actual place, but this doesn't really necessarily mean it has anything to do with your conspiracy, dude. That's all I'm saying. That's all I've been trying to say for like 20 minutes now.
I see.
And you're like, what? Why does it not?
Right,
Like,
'cause
why is the name? Why does the name have to be tied to the conspiracy? I mean, you can't give me that. I mean, because
True.
all the information we're getting is not of a crazy world that depicts this conspiracy that leads everybody to believe. But could this not be on perp? You know what I mean? Is what all I'm saying, to lead you to this. There's the ball right there.
Well, because like
To not give you the real name to find the real information.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's all I've been trying to say, Dave. That like,
yeah, we were
what if
we
the
were
name is something
diverted,
else?
dude.
We've been diverted to Tartarian.
Yeah, because the conspiracy that I think we all are trying to encompass and like see with the stuff being covered in mud and everything is a global, like we're saying, like a global or like an international civilization.
Yeah.
You know?
Which could have been wiped out by catastrophe, which could have been wiped out by a purposeful reset, which ideas.
Yeah, just
right?
the connection.
Which goes with our whole Adam and Eve.
The
You know, it's like
Tartarian connection.
they're one of the civilizations that came to be and then was wiped out.
Yeah, the Tartarian.
The thing that just weirds me out is, dude, is the time frames, right? Like if where everything like really clicks and we're like reset possibility and there's fucking pictures of like
it's
what looks
everything's
like
in
a
the
fucking
18s
reset is 1800.
Yeah.
But then you go back to, okay, what's the historical evidence of Tartary? And then you have the earliest mentions of 800s. People were calling themselves Tartar in some aristocrat's fucking guidebook, whatever it was.
Yeah.
And they get labeled as crazy, you know.
It's-
They were one of the living.
It's all very interesting. I mean, this is one you close the book on, but it's not closed.
What other clips do we got here? We got any more clips?
That's it. I mean, we're at an hour 30.
We didn't talk about the power plant shit.
Yeah, it was a little bit. We touched a little bit on it. There was more in that video that we had. You gotta keep going. There was more on it. I don't know exactly where on it, but it was definitely more on the fact that you had some of that stuff, and this is all just very interesting. I mean, because like I said, there's some buildings that we don't have no actual knowledge, and I guess not there. I don't know. There's just talking, about the information that guy didn't talk about.
Who were these steps made for?
Yeah, I mean that's interesting. But then when we found that out in Pumapumku and they had the step thing like that, it was for irrigation,
agriculture.
and the stuff that was down lower on the lower steps was able to be grown in a warmer temperature, and the stuff that's up higher ends up getting colder or something like that, and that was build the stuff up there that needed to be colder. So that was interesting, and they built there. I mean, so there's a reason behind why, and there's a lot of other stuff that we're not getting reasons behind why, So it's interesting. I don't know. I'm chalking this one up to the Columbian Exposition, because the Columbian Exposition, we tried to say that these buildings were built and everything was built in a short period of time, and there's no way human beings could have did that. And then they give you thousands of people were down on the job site. So I very well believe that human beings could get something done extraordinary in a short period of time, because it happens every day. And when you have that many people, that many builders, and back then, like, everyone was, a master at their credit. There was no, you know what I mean? It's like a different time than it is today, where like, there's professions that we don't have enough professionals in.
Dude, what I think the weirdest thing about this conspiracy for me is those pictures of a magnificent building in a fucking desert wasteland with thousands of people lining up outside.
No, there's
for
so
what?
many things about
What the fuck is going on
David,
there?
there's
man?
so many things about
What
this.
is going on there, dude?
No, right, yeah. I mean, there's so many things about this that were just like jaw-dropping. You know what I mean? Like, in general, like seeing a lot of these doorways. They're like doorways to nowhere. Like, what is the doorway for?
Yeah, doorway to nowhere. Like, it's like, yeah, strange, right? Like, maybe someone just wanted to build a fucking over-the-top thing.
Right.
I just can't find
I'm gonna build
any
the door of all doors.
I just can't think of any logical reason why there's 1,000 people out in the fucking desert where there's some masterpiece architecture. I can't think of anything, dude.
Yeah, I mean,
What the fuck is going on there, bro?
We would have to get the date of the picture. We would have to Google the newspaper in the region. We would have to do all that to get the day to find out. Look, I seen that one picture of flat Earth from a balloon in like the 1600s or 1700s of a picture. and I can't find that picture anywhere. But I seen somebody put it up. But how do I know that picture
It's
was
real or
Yeah, I don't know.
Fake news.
I tried to find it, and I could never find that picture ever again.
Well, hopefully we piqued your interest here on a very interesting topic. Tartary.
I feel like in conclusion, it's like all the things we've been talking about, cataclysms, civilizations being covered up, and us not gaining that technology, or the government is gaining that technology and they're covering it up, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just easy to encompass all of that into that word Tartaria, you know?
Yeah. If you're interested in more, there's tons of stuff on YouTube about this one. This is like the easiest fucking conspiracy to look up and find stuff on, I think.
I don't know. I don't know.
Here or there. You got to know what to type in and what you're looking for.
Yeah, if you type in mud flood, you're gonna get so much fucking shit. It's not like this is censored at all. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but if you get Empire, if you do Empire, you get other things. I don't know.
Right, and if you start looking up Tartaria, you're gonna get videos like this that are like covering up the one that I showed where trying to debunk it and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
You know, those were the videos that kept popping up for me. Pretty wild. All right, guys.
Thanks for listening. We'll catch you on the next one.
Absolutely.
Deuces.
See ya.
This is the Conspiracy Commission Podcast.